The mind freak himself, Criss Angel, was on Insight with Chris Van Vliet this week, talking all about his magic shit. He's got some sort of celebrity magic show that's out now where he teaches celebrities magic tricks, plugging his Vegas show and all that stuff. But it was in this particular clip, as you ask yourself, why the fuck am I watching a wrestling show? And you're talking about a magician, Criss Angel. It doesn't make sense. In this particular clip, Criss Angel talks about how he got his start in the world of magic and where he found his first home, his first steady venue. Check out this clip.
And we have something in common other than, our amazing first name. I'm a big WWE fan.
Oh, right on.
We interview a lot of pro wrestlers on the show. And I know that you really got your first big break it was WWF New York at the time.
That's true. The McMahons, still good friends to this day, and gave me an opportunity to take their banquet room in the basement of what was the WWF. Then they got the F out and it was WWE. And, eventually I was supposed to do like a few weeks there. It ended up turning into, I did over a year. I think I did 14 months there, did 600 performances. Broadway and 43rd in the basement there in a makeshift theater that I created. And it was the real start of all of these other things that to follow, which was my first television special on a network then, and then another one. And then I went to Japan and did one. And then I finally sold Mindfreak. So it all kind of evolved and escalated from the WWE. They kind of gave me my first break thanks to the McMahons.
Yeah, it was WWE New York. It was the WWE that gave Criss Angel his first break. This is where he was still on the rise. This was before Mindfreak. This is before anybody knew who the fuck he was. He was just a magician in New York trying to make a name for himself. And the first full-time gig that he got, the first time, I don't even know if it was like a gig, paid gig, but the first opportunity, the first bone that he was thrown in the industry was he got the free reign to create a show on a regular basis down in one of the basement banquet rooms of WWF New York at the time. If you remember that, they did they used to do Sunday night heats from there for a time being. They'd have like somebody there at WWF New York, and they cut back to it from time to time. It was a thing that they were trying to promote for a while. It was like a club/restaurant thing, WWF themed in Times Square. Probably got rid of it just because it was way too goddamn expensive and probably wasn't making that much money either. But apparently they had a banquet room. And another thing that I love about this is that Chris Van Vliet's such a fucking wrestling nerd, right? Like, I don't know about you, but me personally, like, I got to get wrestling in anywhere I can fit it in, right? If I'm talking to somebody and there's any like hint of mutual, like, oh, you used to watch wrestling or something, I'm going to cling on to that. You know what I mean? So Chris Van Vliet, the very first, he's such a wrestling nerd, talking to a completely non-wrestling guy. Very first question he asked was like, hey, we're both wrestling fans, and you got your start with WWE. Let's talk about that. And I was like, the first thing he asked. I love that shit. I love Chris Van Vliet is a very talented interviewer. He gets a lot of big names, and he's young too. I had said this about Ariel Helwani. I'll throw Chris Van Vliet in this category, though I do think Ariel will become more of he's going to be one of the biggest interviewers of our time. You can put Joe Rogan up there as that as well. And I'd say Chris Van Vliet will find his way up there too. These guys are going to be bigger than YouTubers. You know what I mean? They are going to, they're young. I think not like a Rogan, but these are the guys that are going to be interviewing like presidents and stuff. When you always like see like the Barbara Walters interview or the Walter Cronkite interview or the whoever the fucking, these old ass journalists that get all the major interviews, the big sit downs. It's going to be them. They're going to be interviewing some of the biggest names in the history of our time. Like a Rogan already is, pretty much. You know what I mean? He has everybody in there. So I think Ariel will ascend to that, and I think Chris Van Vliet will too. Maybe not as big as like a Rogan or a Ariel, but I think Chris Van Vliet is going to be doing a lot more than just wrestling interviews and stuff like that. He gets celebrities, he gets like The Rock and stuff, but just for like a couple minutes at like a media thing or whatever. Like, he's just a talented guy. I have full faith in his continued success, I guess is the best way I can say it. If you're into magic, look, I was a big Mindfreak fan. I watched Mindfreak quite a bit, and I like Criss Angel. I like magic tricks in general. I think they're fun. I think to a certain extent there's some crossover with professional wrestling, right? Because it's something that isn't real, but you can't figure out what's fake about it necessarily. Like you can go, oh, that wrestling shit's fake, but then you see guys punch each other in the face. You know what I mean? So it's like, where's the fake part come in? Other than it's predetermined, it's not. But the magic kind of works in the same way, does it not? There's a lot of people that have that intrigue and just how it's done. What's the secret behind the trick kind of thing. So I really liked Mindfreak, and Criss Angel's cool in my book. And I just thought it was awesome that he got his start at WWF New York, which was he specifically named the McMahons. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, the guy who ran the restaurant. Like, he had a business relationship with the McMahons specifically. I think Shane and Vince, probably more Shane than Vince at the time, but I believe that's who was kind of brokering that deal. Shane was really good at a lot of those outside the box things. Shane's somebody I think should have got listened to more. He's a big picture guy, not a detailed guy, but a big picture guy. He's on the right track, trying to convince Vince to buy UFC and stuff like that. And hey, this Criss Angel guy, he's pretty cool. Let's give him a magic show. Like, he's a smart guy, But with all that said, what do you think? Are you into magic? Do you like to make things disappear? I don't know. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Whatever. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip. Don't forget to check out other clips here on the channel. And while you're there, throw a like, throw a subscribe. And don't forget to check out full episodes each and every Sunday of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.